Phase 1. Captain America, the First Avenger. In the early 1940s, Steve Rogers was a skinny and fragile young man from Brooklyn who kept trying to join the US Army, even though he was turned away every time because of his health problems. What made him stand out wasn't his body, but his determination. That persistence caught the eye of Dr. Abraham Erskine, who believed Steve had the right qualities for something bigger. Through Project Rebirth, Rogers was chosen to test the super soldier serum, which was combined with Vita rays to activate it fully. The process worked, and Steve became the world's first successful super soldier. At first, Steve wasn't sent into combat. Instead, the government used him as a symbol on the USO tour, dressed in a flashy costume with a triangular shield, encouraging citizens to buy war bonds. But as the war grew more dangerous, Steve's role changed. He switched to a practical combat uniform with darker colors, tactical straps, and protective gear, better suited for real missions. Howard Stark equipped him with a new weapon, a circular vibranium shield that would become his signature. The most important moment came in 1945. Rogers boarded the Valkyrie, a massive plane loaded with bombs meant for American cities. To stop the attack, he made the decision to crash the aircraft into the Arctic, sacrificing himself to save countless lives. His final words were a promise to Peggy Carter that they would share a dance when he returned, a moment that would never come. While the world believed he had died, his body was preserved in the ice, locked in suspended animation. Phase 2. The Avengers. Almost 70 years later, Steve Rogers was found frozen in the Arctic and brought back to life by S.H.I.E.L.D. Waking up in the modern world, he felt out of place, surrounded by technology, culture, and people that were completely different from the 1940s. He was a soldier without a war, trying to figure out his purpose in a new age. But when Loki appeared and brought an alien army, Rogers quickly realized that his fight wasn't over. Given a new gear by S.H.I.E.L.D., Steve wore a redesigned blue suit with a bright star across the chest, presenting him once again as Captain America. In the Battle of New York, he stepped forward as a leader. While Iron Man, Thor, and Hulk showed raw power, Rogers brought organization and planning. He directed civilians to safety, gave police clear instructions on how to secure the streets, and coordinated the Avengers so that their strengths worked together instead of apart. In combat, his shield skills, quick reflexes, and precise movements let him hold his ground against enemies far stronger than any ordinary humans. His focus was not only on fighting, but also on protecting the city and keeping the team united. When the portal closed and the invasion ended, Rogers had done more than just fight. He had shown that his leadership, discipline, and values were as important to the Avengers as any superhuman power. Phase 3. Captain America, the Winter Soldier. After the Battle of New York, Steve Rogers tried to adjust to the modern world by working as an operative for S.H.I.E.L.D. But this stage of his story was where everything changed. The institutions he thought he could trust proved to be compromised. Even his uniform showed this shift with a dark navy stealth suit designed for covert missions, stripped of the bright colors that once made him a symbol. At first, his mission seemed simple: recover a hijacked S.H.I.E.L.D. ship. But the assignment uncovered a much larger truth. Rogers discovered that Hydra, thought to have ended with the fall of Red Skull, had been secretly growing inside S.H.I.E.L.D. for decades. Their ultimate plan, Project Insight, aimed to use advanced targeting systems to eliminate potential threats before they could act. Steve openly opposed this idea, standing firm that liberty and accountability mattered more than false safety. The fight became personal when he learned the mysterious assassin called the Winter Soldier was actually Bucky Barnes, his closest friend from the 1940s. Taken by Hydra after the war, Bucky had been brainwashed and turned into a weapon. For Steve, the battle wasn't only about stopping a threat. It was about saving the humanity of someone he loved like a brother. The conflict reached its climax with the fall of the 3 helicarriers built for Project Insight. In the final showdown, Rogers chose to not defeat Bucky through violence. He dropped his shield and refused to fight back, making it clear that his loyalty to his friend was stronger than any mission. Phase 4. Avengers Age of Ultron. With S.H.I.E.L.D. dismantled, Rogers shifted his focus to smaller groups and trusted allies, though the threats only grew larger. This phase introduced Ultron, an artificial intelligence created by Tony Stark as a supposed safeguard for Earth. Instead of protecting humanity, Ultron decided that humanity itself was the problem, launching a global crisis unlike any Steve had faced before. Captain America's readiness for battle also evolved. His uniform now carried deeper blues with red and white accents, built with stronger armor and enhanced with new magnetic gauntlets. These allowed his shield to return instantly after every throw, refining both his offense and defense. This upgrade kept him at the center of combat, able to fight aggressively while still protecting those around him. The Battle of Sokovia became the defining moment of this phase. As Ultron's plan lifted the city skyward, Rogers focused on what mattered most: saving civilians. While his teammates fought Ultron's drones on a massive scale, Steve coordinated evacuations, created safe passages through collapsing buildings, and used his shield to block attacks while keeping people moving to safety. Beyond the battlefield, Rogers' role continued to expand. More importantly, by the end of this stage, he took responsibility for training the next generation of Avengers. Phase 5. Captain America Civil War. After Sokovia, governments across the world demanded oversight. The Sokovia Accords placed the Avengers under United Nations authority, requiring official approval before they could act. On the surface, it promised responsibility. But for Rogers, it raised questions of trust. Having lived through S.H.I.E.L.D.'s collapse and the revelation of Project Insight, he could not hand over judgment to the same systems that had failed him before. Tony Stark, still carrying the guilt of Ultron's destruction, supported the Accords as a way to keep their powers in check. Rogers saw it differently. He placed freedom in the hands of bureaucracy, which meant losing the ability to act when it mattered most. The disagreement began as a political question, but soon cut deeper, dividing the team into opposing camps. The fracture widened when Bucky Barnes was accused of the Vienna bombing. To the world, he was a dangerous assassin who had to be stopped. To Rogers, he was still his closest friend, a man trapped by Hydra's control and not responsible for his crimes. The airport battle in Germany showed Rogers' mindset in action. He was not trying to win outright, but to delay, restrain, and escape. Against Iron Man, Black Panther, War Machine, and others, his strikes avoided lethal force. For Rogers, the real fight was against submission to flawed authority, not against the heroes on the other side. But in Siberia, the conflict shifted from political to personal. The revelation that the Winter Soldier killed Howard and Maria Stark while under Hydra's control tore away any chance of reconciliation. For Tony Stark, this was no longer about oversight. It was about revenge. The clash between Rogers, Barnes, and Stark was raw and final. Rogers chose Bucky, not compromise. He abandoned his shield, rejecting both government ownership of his identity and Stark's demand of accountability. Phase 6. Avengers Infinity War. The fallout from Civil War left Rogers and his allies as fugitives. For 2 years, they operated from the shadows, handling missions that required action but lacked approval. His appearance reflected this new reality. The polished uniform was gone, replaced by a battered suit with the star emblem removed. He carried no shield. Instead, Wakanda supplied him with gauntlet-style shields that strapped to his forearms, designed for speed and practicality. When the Black Order arrived on Earth, Rogers didn't hesitate to step back into the open. His fighting style had shifted once more. He relied less on the acrobatic flourishes of his earlier years and leaned into raw force, direct counters, and efficient strikes. Side by side with T'Challa and the Dora Milaje, Rogers held the line at the front as endless waves of outriders poured through. He placed himself at the most dangerous point of the defense, absorbing the pressure so others could survive. Even without his old shield, his presence anchored the fight, showing that leadership came as much from where he stood as from the orders he gave. The aftermath brought one of his greatest losses. As Thanos completed the snap, Rogers watched Bucky Barnes, the friend he had fought across decades to save, vanish before his eyes. The moment was quiet, marked only by Bucky calling his name before dissolving into dust. But its weight was crushing. Phase 7. Avengers Endgame. After the snap, Steve Rogers shifted from warrior to guide. With half the universe gone, the Avengers scattered, and entire societies paralyzed by grief, he turned his focus to helping people endure. For 5 years, he led small support groups offering perspective and encouragement. When Scott Lang introduced the idea of using the quantum realm to reverse the snap, Rogers saw it as the only chance to make things right. He accepted the risk immediately, committing himself to the mission now known as the Time Heist. The operation demanded precision and patience, traits that highlighted Rogers' ability to adapt. Confronting his younger self in 2012, he fought with determination and resolve, but also demonstrated cunning when he disarmed Hydra agents in an elevator with just 2 words: "Hail Hydra." On the battlefield, Rogers faced his ultimate test. His shield shattered, allies absent, he prepared to stand alone against Thanos and his army. Before the fight could overwhelm him, portals opened across the field. Heroes returned, and with them the chance to win. Rogers delivered the command fans had waited for: Avengers, assemble. In the same battle, his worthiness was confirmed as he wielded Mjolnir, fighting with both hammer and shield in perfect harmony. Rogers' story closed not in combat, but in choice. Assigned to return the Infinity Stones, he decided instead to stay in the past and live the life he had been denied. With Peggy Carter, he built the quiet future he once sacrificed. He reappeared as an old man, passing the shield to Sam Wilson. The gesture ended his personal journey while ensuring that Captain America's legacy continued. Phase 8: The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Sam Wilson inherited Rogers' shield, but not his certainty. Doubting his own worthiness, Sam donated the shield to a museum, believing it should remain a relic of history rather than a responsibility he was not ready to carry. That decision left a vacuum. The US government filled it by appointing John Walker as the new Captain America. Walker was skilled, decorated, and proud, but lacked the restraint and moral grounding that defined Rogers. His spiral was rapid. The pressure of the mantle, combined with personal anger, led him to violence. His public killing of an enemy with the shield turned the symbol into something feared rather than respected. For the world, and for Sam himself, the question shifted from who should wield the shield to what Captain America should represent. For Wilson, the path forward required reflection. Through conversations, conflict, and self-examination, Sam came to see that the shield's power lay not in strength, but in the ideals it projected. With Wakanda's help, Sam received a new suit with a blend of wings and shield. In the series finale, Sam stood before the world as Captain America for the first time. His speech emphasized accountability, empathy, and progress, redefining what the symbol stood for. Rogers' legacy continued but was reshaped by Wilson into something broader, more inclusive, and forward-looking. Phase 9: Captain America: Brave New World. Sam Wilson's first full mission as Captain America expanded his responsibility to the global stage. During a White House summit, a sudden wave of mass mind control disrupted proceedings, drawing him into a crisis that spanned nations. The conflict revealed a deeper struggle over the discovery of adamantium on Celestial Island, pulling Wilson into battles that combined politics, resources, and superhuman adversaries. Unlike Steve Rogers, Wilson possessed no serum or enhanced biology. His advantage came from preparation, intelligence, and a Wakandan-built suit that merged wings with shield. Fighting alongside Joaquin Torres, the new Falcon, Wilson built the same kind of partnership Rogers once shared with him. The battles pushed Wilson to his limits. Against enhanced enemies, raw strength wasn't enough, forcing him to rely on timing, terrain, and creative use of momentum. The climax unfolded in Washington, D.C., where Wilson once again placed himself between civilians and devastation. By channeling his suit's full capability, he redirected massive energy surges threatening the capital, turning an attack into defense. In doing so, he defined his Captain America not by serum or myth, but by resolve and innovation. And there you have it, every phase of Captain America. So, which Captain America phase spoke to you the most? Drop your favorite phase in the comments and tell us why it hit different. Stick around by hitting that subscribe button, because next time we're trading the shield for something a little more sinister in every Black Panther Legacy Explained.